Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life. I am continuing with our Waterbury Button Company series. Please do me a favor and please remember to hit the subscribe button for the channel and also give us a thumbs up. And of course, if you are a subscriber, when we reach 2,225 of you, and if you leave a comment, every comment that you leave on different videos will count as an entry into our drawing for free gifts. We have 12 free gifts right now. And also one of the things that we're thinking about doing is when we go live, every time we do a live broadcast, we will give away additional cool prizes, gifts. We need to call them gifts according to the tax person. So they're gifts, they're presents from us. We will even pay the postage. But we need your help to get there. We need to show YouTube by leaving comments, giving thumbs up, Notice that today I'm appropriately manicured. Okay, the manicure is kind of like totally trashed right now. But I'm wearing silver, and I'm going to say brass because that's going to represent some of what you will see in this video as far as buttons. But yes, as I was saying, you have to show YouTube that you enjoy this type of content. Otherwise, eventually, they could take content like this off of their platform. And instead, you'll be overly endowed with people watching video games, people doing fake, stupid stunts, people, putting on makeup for the 400th, 499th trillion times versus, and they're usually not putting it on properly. I would like to tell you that. Go and see a professional. And especially if you've ever dealt with actual makeup artists, as I have because of my acting, you will know that, those people are simply creating content. Nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, I'm trying to put something out there that's a little bit different. Of course, we have a variety of topics that we cover, but this is one that is close to my wee little heart. And only you guys can help us get that 2,225 subscribers. And also, leaving comments and giving us a thumbs up so that we can continue to create this type of information for you. So without further ado, here we go. So I'm going to start out with something I'm experimenting with still, which I told you guys about, which is trying to make cufflinks out of some of these really cool vintage buttons. This is a shell design, which I have in silver, which is actually nickel, and this brass, of course. And one of our subscribers, viewers, which is an awesome, dedicated lady who I send 1,000,000 blessings to, sent me some findings that she had that she wasn't going to be using. She also sent me some buttons, which I really appreciate. I have like 3 people that will occasionally send me buttons, and I so appreciate that, you guys, more than you'll ever know. And I like this finding because it looks sort of older, and it kind of fits with the vibe of this button. And what I did is I have brass chain, so I attached some of that, and I was able to create this really cool cufflink. So I actually created a pair of these. For all of you doubters out there, I will prove it. So I don't think we have many doubters on our channel, but I created a pair of them and I tested them using one of my husband's shirts, and this little backing actually inserts perfectly. So love, love, love these. Like I said, I have them in the 2 metal tones. So what the Waterbury Button Company did, and you can see their hallmark on the back of these, is they took one die and used 2 separate metals to create 2 different types of buttons, which I think is super cool. Another instance, I call this where you have this, what I consider a parent and a child button. So, or a little baby button, as I sometimes call them. And here what you have is the same exact design, if I hold them the same way anyway. And you have a larger version and a smaller version of the same exact button. And this is the 2-hole, because it has 2 holes. You could kind of see that. And this is the 4-hole. And if you flip them over, they have tire backs. And that's what we call these, where it looks almost like a tire. And it has to have this extra piece inserted inside for that definition. And I actually, ironically, have another version of the same button. These are the same size, except this one does not have the black highlighting, and this one does. I sort of like the highlighting because it just looks more expensive, and it's just a little more work, adding a little more value to that button. And of course, they have the same tire backs. I'm trying to keep some sort of background there. As you can see, that has the Waterbury Button Company. And let me show you their logo on their website. Ta-da! Established in the year 1812. That's not a long time ago, is it? Of course it is. So this is a favorite. Oh, let me show you another parent-child button pairing. We can get that done. Here's another one with this sort of fancy slight dome. You can see it domes over a little bit like that. Oops, go closer. But of course, look at this, all of this embossing, and also highlighted with the black so that you can actually see the details better. And on the back, this is what they look like. Notice that classic shank, of course. And this is one of the antique buttons. And once again, it has that slight dome to it. And we had questions as to what this figure is on the button. I don't know. I think it's just a mythical creature. You can see it has 2 legs. At least you can see one of the legs, an arm, or maybe that's another leg. It definitely has a curly Q tail over there to the far upper. It curls up to the far upper right, and a weird animalistic looking, maybe slightly human head. If you guys know what this is, the symbol, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. Oh my God, I just rhymed, and I tried not to do that on purpose, but it happened. And what they used as a shank on this is a pin back, but notice how thick the pin back is and how high it is up off of the body of the back of the shank base. You know, it's not one of those cheap little shallow deals. When you wiggle it around, it like basically snaps. This is welded in, and it's thick so that it can stand the test of time. And also notice how the front of the button is attached to the back. So these are all things that you want to look for when you are trying to identify whether or not you have a Waterbury Button Company button or not. Here is another button. Oh, this is one of my top 10. I know it's crowded at the top. I have several top 10s of all of my buttons, but this one, so I'll say top 15. We have to expand it a little bit. So this one actually has a symbol on it for first. I'm going to try to make this a little larger, and hopefully it doesn't get too blurry. So it has the 1 and the small ST, and all of this little swiggly giggly design around it. This was one of the one-of-a-kind buttons, very rare to find this type of button. I believe that this may have been a presentation button for something someone achieved, and its hallmark on the back is Waterbury Co's, Connecticut, with 2 stars. So once again, another way to identify these. And here this is, oops, dropped it, of course, hopefully not scratching it. And this is what the shank looks like. And you can see how it's welded in. So you'll notice that they weld their shanks on the back. They don't just press them through 2 holes, which is, of course, a cheaper way of making them. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Waterbury Button Company buttons were made with high quality standards. Therefore, they were more expensive for people to own back in the day. This one is brass with black onyx, as you can see with my fingerprint on it. And this is what the back of it looks like. All right. This is what the back looks like. My husband is bothering me, which is probably going to mess up my video again, and I'm going to be unhappy. Here, make sure they can hear you kiss my hand. Bend the knee. Anyway, so this one says Waterbury Button Co. And of course that Connecticut on the back. And you can see what the shank looks like. And also notice how this one bubbles up in the back. And of course it's flat on the front. And that beautiful shine of the black onyx. Listen. That's not plastic, people. Let's see. I'll give you another piece of nickel. How about that? This is a pretty cool button. This one is made probably in the 1970s. Some people think it might be the 60s. I think it's the 70s simply because of the size. I think if it was 60s, it would have been a little bit larger, or it could be the opposite. Maybe the 60s, it was a little smaller, and the 70s a little larger. But this one has I mean, you touch it, it feels so cool. It's not rough, it's pretty smooth, but you could definitely feel the texture there, which I adore. And then this is what the back looks like, that classic shank. They had approximately 4 or 5 different shank styles that they used on a regular basis. Of course, they did a lot of custom work. So if you had something else you wanted them to invent for you, then guess what? They would invent that for you. And guess what? That would mean they would have a brand new patent put in for another design, type of shank, a different type of die. Maybe they had to do something extraordinary to create that button for you. They created a bunch of these for an automobile club. I don't know like what the event was exactly, or the name of the club, but this looks like one of those Ford Model T cars. And this has sort of like, you could see the design is scooped in, which is very cool. So versus being bubbled out, which is a classic thing they did. So obviously that's a sign of something that was custom made. And here you could see their logo on the back, or hallmark, and of course that classic shank. And this button looks as if it is made from 2 pieces, because it is. Here is another button that I think is very unusual, and it is enameled. And you can see that it has a black enamel in between the brass work. And on the back, they used this type of shank, so versus being rounded, it's flat. And of course, they have their information on the inside. And that says Waterbury Co's, Connecticut. So as you already know, because I sort of said this to you guys before, they made more than buttons. They made a lot of different little implements. This is one of them. And on first sight, when I saw these, I actually thought they were buttons, but they're not. These are actually button covers. And yes, that is a turkey, a full turkey in all of his or her regalia. And the back looks like this. Let me just flip it over for you. And I opened the button holder back so you can see inside. Let's see if I can make that a little larger. You can see inside, and you can see how it's attached. So once in a while, when you are, picking up buttons, you have to remember that there were companies such as this particular company. They made more than just regular standard buttons, as you can see. They made everything from fashion buttons to uniform buttons, etc. But they also made other implements and, items that would complement an outfit. But this company also made toys and things for electronic components, and the list goes on and on. They really made sure they made good use of their machinery, materials, and the talent that they had working for them. So this is a really pretty mother of pearl button, and the pearl has been cut, of course, and set after it was polished into this nickel base, which has the shank attached. As you can see, it's built in. It's one part, one piece. And let's make that a little bigger for you. And if you have a button that looks like this, if it was made exactly like this, that is a Waterbury Button Company button. So let's look at something that's a little more utilitarian. So this is a button you may have seen before. Okay, make sure it was made just like this. This button has a little bit of weight to it, and that's something I find common with their buttons. For the size, if you were to weigh someone else's button against theirs, their button usually weighs a little bit more because of the quality materials. This is what the back looks like, and you can see how it was attached to the front. These are all things that you want to look for when you are trying to figure out if you have any of their buttons. So if you guys think you have some of their buttons and you want me to take a look at them, please leave a comment down below of this video or any of these Waterbury Button Company videos that I'm doing, and I will try to help you out with identifying them. And oh, this is interesting because I have a few of these buttons in different colors, same exact design. I don't know if I'll find the, oh, there's another one. So you see there's one with the blue, red, and green. That color is actually green. You can hardly tell, but it is. Actually, maybe if I flip it that way. Yeah, you can kind of tell. And then this one has the cream, the red. It also has blue and green, the lighter color one. And I have another one in this same button that's yellow, meaning the background is yellow. And I have these in this size, which is the child size, and the parent size. So I don't know if these were made for a company, for a uniform. Maybe they were made for an airline, because they did make lots of buttons for different airlines. It's something I have to do more research on, which I've never done. I just like the button, and you can see all of them have the same exact markings on the back, same shanks, and they're all attached the same exact way. So if you have these, you are lucky. You probably have a rare button. So if you do any research into that, let me know what you find out. And here is a sweet button. Notice how it has that atomic shape to it, and it has a point, so it starts down lower and then it builds up to a point, which I'm probably not there you go, you can see it better if I turn it that way. And I love that swirly design. I don't know, it reminds me of outer space or either wheat. I know, that's like such a difference. It's like, okay, you went from outer space to wheat, and then you can see how the top is attached to the back. And once again, it's that classic shank that they used on their buttons. Like I said, they had several shank designs. This was a very common one for them. Here is another button which has Black Onyx, and this one is a smaller version, slightly different than this one because they're made different. You can see the difference in it's bezeled on the edge, the brass, and the glass a little bit, whereas the other one, this bigger one, it's like flat. And maybe it's because of the size of the piece of material they had to put inside of it. But there's definitely a difference there. And this one, it has a W on the back, and you can see what the shank looks like. And remember, this one had all of the words spelled out on it. This is a cute little button, and it'll be another example of that tire back I was telling you about earlier. And they highlighted the inside. This is a button that you might possibly own. So just check it out carefully. See if this is something that you have. Notice how they purposely left little bits of the highlight around the edge. You can see some black there, some there, over there. That was all part of the design process on purpose. And you can see the tire back. So that's a button you may have seen out in the world before. Well, anyway, I'm going to end this video right there for you guys. I have at least 2 more videos so that you can identify whether or not you have any of these buttons, pick them out of your collection and give them a place of prominence, or at least maybe create one of those cool button cards as one of my friends did for me, my PayPal friend. And she's my, I said PayPal, pen pal friend. Tells you how tired I'm getting at this point. Because it's later here than you would imagine. And you could actually do something like this, or, you know, put them in a charm string, etc. There's a lot of things that you could do with these buttons. They're extraordinary American history, which I think is important to a point. All history is important, but it's important to know what's still made in your country. And this is a company that still operates today, but they were sold in the year 2000. And in the year 2000, they actually were going to change the name. I talked about this in the first video. And that company that purchased them decided that the Waterbury Button Company had too much of a awesome reputation to simply rename it and have it forgotten and, you know, sort of erased, or if not erased, pushed to the back of history a bit. And they decided, no, this organization is represented in museums around the world on the uniforms of everyone from a postal worker to a soldier in the field to a police officer, firefighter, you name it. And so thankfully they decided to keep the name. So what does that mean? I think these buttons are just going to become more and more rare. I was lucky enough to buy some of these buttons from a family whose mother had worked for the Waterbury Button Company, and when they immigrated to the United States, her mother worked for the same company. The guy that I got these from, he is close to 60 years old. So that just gives you an idea of how far back this goes. When his grandmother came to this country, he said that she was either a older teenager, like 19 years old, 18 years old maybe, or early 20s. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the age of some of the buttons that I have here in this collection. Oh, and let me show you one of the ideas that I have is to make some button charm-like bracelets. I'll take this one off so you can see it better. I've been wearing this one all day. And I'm still working on the design of it, and it definitely needs at least 1 or 2 more buttons on it so they don't move around. But I do love that rattle. When we were outside, I think my dog thought there was a rattlesnake out there because I was like shaking my wrist and she was like looking all over the place. She's looking at me right now. But yeah, so that's, you know, one of the ideas I have for these buttons. If you have any unique ideas that I haven't shared in the past as to what I should do with some of the buttons I have, please let me know, because some of them I have dozens and others I only have a few because they were either made as prototypes or they were made for a client as a one-of-a-kind, one-off type item. So they're incredibly rare and can't be found anywhere else. And as a matter of fact, one of the trips that I will be taking this spring, if not sooner, is to the Waterbury Button Company's actual headquarters in Waterbury, Connecticut. And I'm going to bring a collection of these buttons with me that I have that they came from their company. Also, the other trip that we have planned is to the Mattatuck Museum, which is also in Waterbury, so that I can film. And oh, it's going to be so hard to leave there because I'm going to see so many beautiful button displays. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to give us a thumbs up and leave all comments down below. And also check out the description of this video for more information as to how you can help support the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember that your health is your wealth, and without your health, you have nothing. So please, please, please take care of yourselves, and talk to you later.